Imagine standing on the shoreline of a vast, midnight dark ocean, being told that on the other side lies a mountain of gold. Most people would jump into a rickety boat and start rowing frantically toward the horizon, fueled by nothing but hope and adrenaline. But without a compass, a map, or a proven vessel, that ocean, the market, will eventually swallow them whole. In the world of day trading, your strategy is the compass. It is the difference between a captain navigating toward a destination and a castaway drifting toward disaster. Today on Risk Premium, we're breaking down why entering the market without a tested, working strategy is the most expensive mistake you will ever make, and how you can build a roadmap that actually leads to consistent profit. Before a skyscraper ever touches the clouds, it exists as a 1,000-page blueprint that has been rigorously stress-tested for wind, weight, and extreme weather. Every beam and bolt is accounted for because, at that altitude, there's no room for structural guessing. Your trading strategy requires that exact same level of structural integrity. You must have a working and back-tested strategy because the market is not a place for intuition or gut feelings. It is a high-stakes arena where probabilities are the only currency that truly matters. If you enter a trade because you feel like the price is too low, you aren't trading, you're hoping. Backtesting is the clinical process of taking your specific rules, your exact entry triggers, stop-loss placements, and profit targets, and running them through years of historical market data to see if they actually survive the economic storms of the past. It is exactly like a pilot spending hundreds of hours in a high-fidelity flight simulator before ever touching the controls of a real aircraft carrying hundreds of passengers. The simulator allows the pilot to experience engine failures and turbulence in a safe environment. Backtesting allows you to experience a 10-trade losing streak in the data, so you don't panic when it happens with your real money. If your strategy doesn't show a clear positive expectancy, meaning it makes more than it loses, over a sample size of at least 500 historical trades, why on earth would you trust it with your hard-earned capital today? Relying on an untested strategy is like sailing a ship with a hole in the hull and hoping the ocean stays calm. However, a thoroughly tested strategy gives you the statistical permission to take a trade even when you are nervous. It transforms your approach from a blind, high-stress gamble into a calculated professional business move. You stop asking, will this trade win? And start asking, does this trade fit my proven model? This shift in mindset is what allows you to survive the volatility that wipes out everyone else. The greatest enemy of a trader isn't the market's volatility or a rigged system. It's the internal urge to strategy hop the moment things get difficult. Imagine a farmer who plants corn one week, but because he doesn't see sprouts by Tuesday, he grows impatient, digs up the seeds, and decides to plant wheat instead. By constantly disturbing the soil, he ensures he will never have a harvest. Many traders do the exact same thing. They find a strategy, use it for 3 days, hit 2 consecutive losing trades, which are a perfectly normal part of any statistical distribution, and immediately abandon it to go hunting for a new holy grail indicator, or a different guru's secret method. This lack of discipline creates a loop of failure where you never stay with one method long enough to allow the law of large numbers and the math of your edge to work in your favor. Professionalism in trading means strictly following your strategy without a single deviation, even when the current market environment feels hostile to your specific setup. You must adopt the mindset of a casino owner. The house knows with absolute certainty that while an individual gambler might win a hand, or even a dozen hands, the house's strategy, the mathematical edge built into the game, is fixed and unyielding. Over 1,000 hands, the house always wins because they never change the rules of the game just because one player got lucky. If you keep changing your rules, your entry triggers, or your risk parameters every time you feel a bit of heat, you are the gambler feeding the market with your indecision. But if you stick to your tested system through the drawdowns and the win streaks alike, you become the house. Consistency is the only way to transform trading from a stressful game of chance into a predictable business of probabilities. You have to give your strategy the time to breathe and the room to grow. Otherwise, you're just digging up your seeds before they ever have a chance to take root. You cannot manage what you do not measure, and in the world of professional trading, measurement is the only path to improvement. This is where the meticulous process of reviewing and journaling becomes the psychological and statistical mirror that reflects your true performance, stripping away the ego and the excuses. To treat trading like a business, you need to have a command of your vital signs, your win rate, your average gain versus your average loss, risk to reward ratio, and your maximum drawdown. However, journaling isn't just about recording dry numbers or keeping a ledger of wins and losses. It is about performing a surgical autopsy on your trades to determine if you actually followed your blueprint. When you look back at a trade, you have to be brutally honest. Did you enter because the strategy signaled a high probability setup? Or did you enter because you were bored, impulsive, or chasing a feeling? This is where the truth comes out. If you have a strategy that backtests at a 60% win rate, yet your live account is consistently losing money, your journal is the only tool that will reveal the discrepancy. It will show you that the problem isn't the strategy, it's your execution. Perhaps you're closing winners too early out of fear, or letting losers run past your stop loss out of hope. Think of your trading journal as your business's ultimate profit and loss statement. Without it, you are essentially flying a plane through a thick fog without an altimeter or a fuel gauge. You might feel like you're moving, but you have no idea how close you are to the ground. By reviewing your game tape every weekend when the markets are closed and the emotions are cold, you can identify specific patterns of success and, more importantly, eliminate the leaks in your boat before they sink your entire account. Success in this industry is a trail of data left behind by disciplined actions. If you aren't tracking that data, you aren't succeeding. You're just surviving by luck. And in the market, luck eventually runs out. To survive this journey, you must radically shift your perspective. Zoom out and focus exclusively on long-term results rather than the fluctuating outcome of a single trade. In the grand scheme of a trading career, a single losing trade is nothing more than a routine business expense. The cost of doing business in a world of uncertainty. Imagine a high-end clothing store on a busy city street. The owners know with mathematical certainty that a small percentage of their inventory will be stolen, damaged, or lost. In the retail world, this is known as shrinkage. They don't shut down the entire operation, fire the staff, or panic because one silk shirt went missing. They simply factor that loss into their long-term financial model and keep the doors open. In trading, however, an undisciplined mind sees a single loss as a personal failure or an attack on their intelligence, which triggers a dangerous cascade of emotional decisions, revenge trading, and the urge to make it back by breaking risk rules. But a professional understands the law of large numbers. In any series of 100 trades, the specific order of wins and losses is completely random. You might experience a frustrating statistical cluster of 5 losses in a row, but if your math is sound and your edge is proven, those losses are just the prelude to the next 10 winners. When you stop obsessing over the tiny blip on the radar of today's price action and start focusing on the trajectory of where your equity curve will be 6 months or a year from now, the paralyzing stress of trading evaporates. You begin to realize that you aren't trading for today's lunch or the immediate gratification of a green day. You are trading for next year's freedom and the decade's wealth. By detaching your ego from the individual trade and attaching it instead to the quality of your long-term process, you become unshakable, allowing the math of your strategy to do the heavy lifting while you simply remain the disciplined manager of the machine. In the end, the market is a chaotic ocean, but your strategy is the vessel that keeps you afloat. It provides the structure, the discipline, and the mathematical edge you need to stop gambling and start compounding. Remember, the goal isn't to be right. The goal is to be disciplined and profitable over the long haul. If you are ready to stop chasing magic buttons and start building a real, professional trading business, you've found your home. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for Risk Premium, turn on the notification bell, and join our community of traders who value process over hype. Let's master these markets together, one disciplined trade at a time. See you in the next video.